All right, so now the next management tool that we're going to talk about is the leash. And I'm going to say something that some of you will find very confusing, especially if you haven't had professional dog training support before. I really recommend keeping the leash on inside the house. It's a great management tool, and people often only treat the leash as only a tether or an anchor holding the dog close. But then they get dragged around, pulled around, all of that stuff. So the leash doesn't really have the meaning to the dog that it should. It can be a really, really powerful communication tool when used correctly. So I like to keep the leash on the dog, and I don't care if the dog bites through the leash. There's ways to teach the dog not to do that. You can put something that they don't like the smell of. So one thing I like to apply on the leash, especially if a puppy is like really trying to chew the leash all the time, is maybe some Tiger Balm or even Vicks, like Vicks Vapor Rub that you use when you have a cold. These things will deter your dog eventually from chewing on the leash, but having the leash on inside the house is so valuable that if your dog bites through a few leashes, it's not really that bad. Just buy a couple of cheap leashes for under 100 baht. You can go through a few of them, but what they do for your relationship with your dog is unprecedented. It's amazing. Now, how do I use it? When you keep the leash on the dog in the house at all times, you don't have to rely on your words, your voice, your touch, like holding the dog, grabbing the dog, running after the dog, to stop the dog from doing something wrong. Remember I mentioned Cesar Millan a few videos ago, and how he talks about touch, talk, and eye contact being natural rewards for the dog. Now, when we try and shout at a dog or scream, and often when our dogs do something wrong, we're not screaming out of anger. We're often screaming out of panic, but then our voices, our tones are also really amused at what our dog is doing. So our dog is misinterpreting our response as something good. It's like children, right? You see when your child does something funny, especially a young baby, toddler age, when they do something and you laugh at them, they do it more because they like the response you got out of them. Same thing, dogs are looking for a positive response, some sort of interaction with you. And if they do something wrong and you accidentally reinforce that behavior with your reaction, they're going to do it more and more. So people talk about how dogs pick up shoes and run off with them, or pick up things from the table that they're not supposed to, just things like that. And so a big part of that is because we're giving them the wrong feedback. But when you have the leash on in the house without using your words, without saying anything, it's a process. It doesn't come naturally. We all like to talk first because that's what we do as a species, right? When we need to express something, we speak. For dogs, they don't necessarily learn as much through verbal communication as they do through body language and physical communication. So when the dog's doing something that they're not supposed to, I'd much rather you grab onto the leash, redirect them away from whatever it is they're doing, but without saying anything, right? And that's one of the best use of a leash inside the house. And you can have it on all the time, except for when they're in the crate maybe. Other than that, you can just have it on. If it's too long and it gets caught in things, you can cut it in half. So it's a short tab rather. Sometimes when the dog's running away from you, if you have a longer leash, you can also step on it to prevent the dog from getting away, so that you're not chasing the dog actively, not turning it into a game by mistake. So yeah, those are some of the uses of a leash inside the house.